Few scouts can go into the mind of a young man and determine whether he's really confident about what he can do.
Sony killed this film 5 days before cameras were supposed to roll, with $10 million already spent and a crew already hired. Brad Pitt had a weekend to save it. Nobody would take it. The studio that canceled it eventually made it anyway, for $30 million less. The man playing the villain wrote his own dialogue. The director of Being John Malkovich is in the film uncredited as the uncomfortable new husband. The actor playing David Justice was nicknamed Young Justice in actual Major League Baseball for looking too much like him. Aaron Sorkin told the screenwriter he was being hired to rewrite that he would burn the studio down if someone did that to his script, then took the job for a year and a half. And the real Billy Beane got a producing credit and a consulting seat on a movie that quietly cut his actual wife out of the finished cut. The film about an analytics revolution that got 6 Academy Award nominations went 0 for 6, just like the team. 27 facts about Moneyball. Let's get into it. Subscribe before we start, it helps. Now let's go.
That's good to hear, Billy. I'm not gonna waste your time, man. You just tell me what you're looking for.
$50 million in additional payroll.
Should try Giambi.
Number 27. Sony optioned Michael Lewis's book in 2004, the same year it hit shelves, and brought Stan Shervin on to write the first draft. Somewhere in the decade that followed, the actual Billy Beane became more than the subject of the story. He was brought on as a consultant to the production, sitting close enough to the process to weigh in on how his own front office got depicted on screen. That is a strange position for anyone to be in, watching a studio decide which parts of your actual career are dramatic enough to keep. Beane had already lived through the book becoming a bestseller and reshaping how front offices around the league operated. Now he was being asked to help shape the fictionalized version of himself that Brad Pitt would play. Few executives ever get handed that particular mirror.
How is the team shaping up?
Team's good. Rebuilding.
Good.
I read you lost Giovanni and Damon.
Giambi.
Yeah.
Number 26. Robin Wright plays Sharon, Beane's ex-wife, and the film frames him as a divorced single father trying to stay close to his daughter. That was not his real domestic situation in 2002. Beane was already remarried to a woman named Tara, and for a stretch of the production that marriage was going to be part of the movie, Catherine Morris was cast and actually shot scenes as Tara. All of them were cut before release. What's left on screen is a simplified version of Beane's personal life, a single dad instead of a remarried one, because the filmmakers decided one relationship carried the emotional weight better than two. An entire actress's performance exists somewhere in an editing bay, playing a wife the audience never found out existed.
I can't manage this team under a one-year contract.
Well, sure you can.
No, I can't.
Number 25. The version of this story where Steven Soderbergh gets fired 5 days before shooting only covers part of the chaos. Before Soderbergh was ever attached, David Frankel, who would go on to direct Marley and Me, was the director developing the project. He left, Soderbergh came aboard, and got as far as pre-production before Sony killed his version outright, and only then did Bennett Miller enter the picture. 3 different directors, spanning close to a decade, on a non-fiction baseball book about payroll efficiency. The film that eventually got made carries almost none of the fingerprints of the first 2 attempts. What survived from nearly 10 years of false starts was the underlying idea, not any single director's take on how to tell it.
And whatever that decision is, you know it's fine with your mother and I.
Number 24. The film builds an entire scene around Beane and Brand running the 2002 draft room by their own analytics-driven board, overruling scouts in real time. What it never tells you is how that draft actually turned out. By the numbers, Beane walked away with 13 of the 20 players he had specifically targeted going in. At the time, no general manager in the league had ever finished a draft with more than 6 of their intended picks, and most considered landing even 2 or 3 of their priorities a good outcome. Beane more than doubled the previous high-water mark, using the very method the film spends 90 minutes explaining, and the movie never once tells the audience the results. The receipts for the entire thesis of the film exist in the box score off-screen.
Do you resent all of the attention that you get off the field?
I don't. I love it.
You spend a lot of time in Las Vegas.
I do.
Feel great. Like I said, I did a lot of work to get ready
Excuse
for
me,
this.
can you please get out of my shot?
Number 23. Ron Washington, the Athletics infield coach, gets referenced by name inside the film, a small nod to a real member of the 2002 staff. By the time Moneyball actually reached theaters in September 2011, the man behind that name was no longer coaching in Oakland at all. Washington had become the manager of the Texas Rangers and had led that team to back-to-back American League pennants in 2010 and 2011. Audiences watching a movie set in 2002 could that same autumn turn on a television and watch the real Wash managing in the World Series. The film's version of him was a supporting character from a decade-old roster. The man himself was actively making baseball history while the movie about his old team was still in theaters.
So he walks a lot.
He gets on base a lot, Rocco. Do I care if it's a walk or a hit? Pete?
You do not.
I do not.
Billy, I got 37.
Number 22. One of the film's sharpest scenes has Beane firing his head scout, Grady Fuson, on the spot for refusing to abandon traditional scouting judgment in favor of the numbers. Ken Medlock plays him, and the scene lands as a clean thesis statement. The old way loses, the new way wins, right there in the room. The real institutional shift inside the Athletics front office was messier than one confrontation. Fuson was a genuine, respected scouting figure whose disagreements with Beane's approach were part of a longer, more gradual power struggle over how the organization made decisions, not a single dramatic firing. The film compresses years of internal friction into one scene because one scene is what a 90-minute runtime allows for. Number 21. Late in the film, Beane describes the sport itself as an unfair Game 1 line, delivered flat, that sums up everything the movie has been building toward. It sounds like a piece of original screenwriting. It isn't. Michael Lewis's book was never published under the single word Moneyball alone. Its full title is Moneyball, The Art of Winning an Unfair Game. The phrase that plays like the emotional thesis of the movie was sitting on the cover of the source material the entire time, and 2 Academy Award-winning screenwriters had the good sense to just take it.
Peter Brand.
Billy.
How are you? Hi, how you doing?
Nice to see you.
Good to have you here. Well, you moving fast.
Yeah, I got here early this morning.
Wow.
Number 20. June 2009. 5 years of development, $10 million already burned. A crew hired, a start date locked, Steven Soderbergh attached to direct. Amy Pascal and Michael Linton read the new draft and pulled the plug. Pascal's description of making that call, it was really hard. Sony offered an exit. Pitt and Soderbergh could take the project elsewhere, but only if they could close a deal within days because the studio wasn't going to keep paying to hold a production it had just canceled. Agents worked the phones over one frantic weekend. There were no takers. The film that would eventually earn 6 Academy Award nominations sat dead on a shelf. The only reason it came back is that Pascal agreed to make it herself at $50 million, a figure that included the $10 million already spent and Pitt's salary, which left less than $30 million for everything and everyone else. The movie about a general manager doing more with less was made under exactly those conditions.
These are the guys, Billy.
Boys,
How's it going?
it's going all right. How you been? You're filling out that chair nicely.
Well, I got 3 weeks in it right now.
Number 19. Soderbergh did not want to make a sports drama. His vision was a hybrid, part scripted narrative, part documentary, with real players and coaches appearing as themselves and sabermetrics pioneer Bill James turning up to explain his own theories directly to the audience. He had already shot interview footage with Lenny Dykstra, Mookie Wilson, and Darryl Strawberry. Dimitri Martin was cast in the role that would eventually become Jonah Hill's Peter Brand. Pascal looked at a $60 million semi-documentary starring Brad Pitt and could not see how to sell it. That instinct is precisely what Pitt and Bennett Miller later used as the pitch. Miller's description of the strategy: "We will give them the gift of a Hollywood movie starring Brad Pitt that is going to be real entertainment, but inside it is some cargo that is not really accepted in a vintage way." The Trojan horse worked because it looked like a Brad Pitt movie. Soderbergh's version never had a horse.
Well, absolutely, it was predictable. You don't wish anybody a lack of success, but the facts are right in front of you. Can't blame Art Howe for what's going on.
Number 18. Before Aaron Sorkin accepted the rewriting assignment, he called the man he was being hired to rewrite. Steven Zaillian, who won an Academy Award for Schindler's List, was in Rome, standing on a side street near the Pantheon when the phone rang. His advice was practical. He was being asked to write some new scenes. Try not to dismantle the script if you can. Then Zaillian turned the question around. He asked Sorkin what he would do if the roles were reversed. Sorkin didn't take long. His answer? He would burn the studio down. He took the job anyway. What he said would take 3 weeks turned into a year and a half of revisions, much of it written in a Boston hotel room at night while The Social Network was shooting during the day. 2 writers, 1 script, and neither of them in the same room.
I think my recap will be simple. The A's scored 6 in the first, 1 in the second, and 4 in the third.
And people would be shocked if you just did that.
Number 17. Zaillian and Sorkin did not work together. They divided the film, ran separate stretches of scenes, and sent pages to Bennett Miller, who assembled the two voices into a single screenplay himself. Zalian described the arrangement plainly. Passing a script back and forth is usually a recipe for disaster. It did not become one. Sorkin's own explanation for why is the cleanest thing anyone said about the entire production. We were both courting the same girl, but we had both invested too much to let ego stop us. The Academy nominated them jointly for Best Adapted Screenplay, alongside Stan Shervin for the underlying story. Two screenwriters with Oscars on their shelves, one brought in to rewrite the other, and the product of that arrangement earned a nomination for both of them. Miller stitched the seams himself, and the seams are invisible.
Add that up and you get...
You want me to speak?
We're not pointing you yet.
1092.
Number 16. With Soderbergh gone and the project dead, Brad Pitt needed a director. The recommendation came from an actress. Catherine Keener, who had starred in Miller's Capote opposite Philip Seymour Hoffman, told Pitt directly, "You have to talk to Bennett Miller." That was the entire pitch. One sentence from a friend. Miller had not made a feature in 6 years. When CAA called, the question was whether he was interested in baseball. His answer was not exactly enthusiastic, he said he used to be. He took 3 weeks before responding, and what he came back with was not a pitch for a sports movie. It was a pitch for something subversive to the genre, embedded inside one. The chain of custody on one of the most acclaimed films of 2011 runs. Sony fires Soderbergh, Brad Pitt asks an actress. The actress names a director who hasn't worked in 6 years and isn't sure he cares about baseball anymore.
I apologize, and I just don't know what you're going to do with the kind of budget that the A's have. Who are you going to get?
But I'm looking at the spring training roster, and you've got to be kidding me.
Number 15. Jonah Hill's character was originally written under his real name, Paul DePodesta, Beane's assistant GM in 2002. DePodesta asked to have it removed. His explanation to the Wall Street Journal was specific and structural rather than personal. In some respects, a lot of the conflict is going to revolve around my character, and that was never really the case in reality. He wasn't objecting to how he was portrayed. He was objecting to the film's version of events being attached to his actual name. So the production invented Peter Brand shy, soft-spoken, Yale economics graduate, zero athletic background. The real DePodesta went to Harvard, studied economics, and played both baseball and football there. The single most Hollywood detail in the character, the nerd who never played sports, is the one the writers invented after the real man declined to participate. DePodesta went out of his way to protect Jonah Hill publicly, telling journalists the decision had nothing to do with the actor. It was entirely about the script.
I'm going in. Text me the play-by-play.
What? Why?
I watch games.
Number 14. Pratt was on Parks and Recreation when he auditioned for Scott Hatterberg. Bennett Miller told him during the read that he seemed nervous. Pratt stayed in character and threw them out of the room. His line, "This is my house, and you can start by taking your feet off my desk." He made the director and Brad Pitt walk out and knock before being allowed back in. He got the part, and then his agent called with a note from the studio. They thought he was too fat. He was cast 3 months later, regardless. The verdict that ultimately mattered came from the real Scott Hatterberg, who watched the finished film and said the man playing him had his mannerisms down so well that his own kids were amazed. A sitcom actor who threw a movie star and a director out of a room, then got told he was the wrong size, that ended up delivering the performance that Hatterberg's children recognized as their father. Number 13. Art Howe is not a rewarding role. He is the obstacle, he loses every argument. He gets 15 minutes of screen time across the entire film, and he has no arc. When a window opened in Philip Seymour Hoffman's schedule, he did not wait for an offer. He called Miller directly. The question, have you cast Art Howe yet? The timing was luck. Miller was on the verge of casting the role, but hadn't yet, and told him so. Hoffman said he'd love to do it. An Academy Award winner picked up a telephone and asked to play the man who loses. The performance he delivered almost entirely through posture, a flat stare, and an absolute refusal to bid for the audience's sympathy is one of the quietest and most complete things in the film. It is what an actor does with a window in his schedule when the director he trusts is making a movie he wants to be in.
They played fantastic, and it just didn't fall our way.
You'll do better next year.
We were close, weren't we?
We were so close.
Right there.
Number 12. Stephen Schott, the owner who tells Billy Beane there is no more money, is played by Bobby Kotick, who ran Activision Blizzard for 32 years and put Call of Duty and Guitar Hero into the world. It is not a walk-on. He has 2 scenes and a full stack of dialogue, including the line the studio put in the trailer. He got there because he is friends with Bennett Miller. Miller asked him to read the script from a real executive's perspective. Kotick read it, told Miller the owner's dialogue didn't sound like anything an actual executive would say, and Miller told him to rewrite the lines and then play the character. Kotick agreed on one condition. Miller would direct a short film for the Call of Duty Endowment, the veterans nonprofit Kotick had founded. He is uncredited on screen and has said publicly that audiences will never see him act again. The most convincing performance of institutional immovability in a film about institutional inflexibility was given by a man who was not acting and who negotiated his own terms in the middle of it.
Okay, here's who we want. Number 1, Jason's little brother, Jeremy.
Billy, that's trouble.
Number 11. Paul DePodesta was asked for permission and had his name removed. Art Howe, the man who actually managed the 2002 Oakland A's to 103 wins in the postseason, was never contacted. He found out what the film did with him by watching it. His verdict on Sirius XM in September 2011 was unambiguous: character assassination. He followed with, "It wasn't even close to my personality." His specific grievances hold up against the historical record. The film frames his character around sulking over a contract extension. In reality, he had already signed one. The film needs him as an obstacle who can't see what's in front of him. In reality, he had taken the A's to 3 consecutive postseasons. The film also almost entirely omits the actual reason the 2002 team won. Barry Zito won the Cy Young that year, Miguel Tejada was the AL MVP, and the rotation of Zito, Hudson, and Mulder is why the streak happened at all. Howe was managing a team with the league's best pitcher, the league's best position player, and an elite rotation. The film chose not to mention any of it.
I wanted to say thank you for this opportunity.
Well, we enjoy having you. It's going to work out well for all of us.
I appreciate it, sir. Nobody's ever given me a chance like this before in the big leagues.
Number 10. Stephen Bishop played college baseball at UC Riverside and signed with the Atlanta Braves organization. Inside the Braves system, he picked up a nickname that was not his choice. His physical resemblance to Braves outfielder David Justice, combined with a similar approach at the plate, led teammates and coaches to start calling him Young Justice. He spent a season in professional baseball being compared to the specific man he would eventually be paid to play. His playing career ended, he moved into acting, and spent years building a resume in small parts. Then a casting director on a Brad Pitt production needed someone to play David Justice. The man who had been called David Justice by professional scouts and teammates for years before he ever read a line got the job. There is no cleaner casting decision in the film. The nickname preceded the role by roughly 15 years. Number 9. The production budget did not cover shooting at 8 major league parks. Production designer Jess Gonchor, coming off No Country for Old Men, dressed Dodger Stadium over 3 days to stand in for all of them. He also built the entire underbelly of the Oakland Coliseum locker room, weight room, coaching offices, video room on a Sony soundstage. Miller got less than 2 weeks of Coliseum exteriors, some shot at night because the A's played during the day. The rest of Oakland is Long Beach and Glendale. Then there was Fenway Park. The production had exactly 1 day at the most photographed ballpark in American sports for the scene the entire third act is built toward, and it rained. There was no second day. There was no budget for one. So the gray, wet, soaking light in the John Henry scene, the light that gives the whole sequence its particular emotional register, is not a creative choice made in a color suite. It is what September weather gave them on the only afternoon they had. Sometimes the constraint becomes the design.
The problem is that Bill James never played, never managed. He was, in fact, a security guard.
Number 8. Royce Clayton played 17 seasons in the major leagues across 11 organizations. He was a National League All-Star in 1997. Bennett Miller cast him as Miguel Tejada, the shortstop who won the American League MVP award for the 2002 A's. Tejada is Dominican. Clayton is not. He went all the way in. He built an accent and then refused to drop it, on set or off, for the entire duration of the shoot. His own account of how that landed with the rest of the cast, the guys found it hilarious. He'd show up every morning saying, "Hey you guys, we gonna win today." A 17-year Major League veteran and a genuine all-star spent 2 months doing full-time character work in a role that has a handful of lines. The baseball in this film looks nothing like a movie, and a significant part of the reason is that Miller cast people who had actually played it professionally and then asked them to do something they'd never done.
One out here in the fourth, and if you're just joining us, you missed a lot. And the pitch to Raul Banez, strike one.
Number 7. Principal photography ran 58 days. When it finished, a studio executive handed Miller the post-production schedule, 12 weeks. His response, after looking at it for 15 seconds, was direct. "That's ridiculous. That's not going to happen." He took 36 weeks, 3 times the studio's allocation, cutting in Los Angeles, while Zalian and Sorkin were still sending revised pages, on a film the same studio had canceled outright 2 years before. When he finally screened the finished cut, both producer Rachel Horovitz and Amy Pascal, the executive who had killed the project in 2009, were sitting in the room. Both of them cried. The studio head, who had pulled the plug when she read the script, cried watching the version assembled by the director, who had ignored her post-production schedule by 24 weeks. The cut eventually earned a Best Film Editing nomination at the Academy Awards.
That we could afford, because everyone else in baseball undervalues them. Like an island of misfit toys.
Number 6. The scene where Billy Beane picks up his daughter and has to make small talk with his ex-wife and her new husband is one of the most uncomfortable 4 minutes in the film. Robin Wright plays the ex-wife. The new husband, hovering at the edge of every conversation, helpful in a way that is somehow worse than unhelpful, is Spike Jonze. The director of Being John Malkovich, an adaptation, who would win an Academy Award 2 years later for writing Her, appears in a Brad Pitt sports drama as the guy you can't stand in your ex-wife's living room and takes no credit for it. The AFI catalog logs it as an uncredited cameo. Jonze is not doing a bit. He is not winking at the camera. He is simply very good at being the specific kind of person this scene requires. Someone whose entire presence makes you understand how far outside his daughter's life Billy Beane has drifted. The cameo is not decoration. It is the setup for everything the film does with that relationship in the second half. Number 5. Bennett Miller auditioned dozens of girls for the role of Casey Beane. Karis Dorsey, 13, had been acting since she was 6 and playing guitar since she was 8. She walked into the audition and played Lenka's The Show because it was one of her favorite songs and she thought it suited the character. Nobody asked her to bring a song. She chose it herself. Miller said later that the song she played sent chills down his spine and was impossibly perfect in every way. He cast her and put the song in the film. The problem: the movie is set in 2002. Lenka didn't release the show until 2008. The most emotionally decisive piece of music in the picture the recording Billy Beane is listening to in the final shot when he decides to stay in Oakland couldn't have existed in the world of the story. Dorsey's cover sold 86,000 downloads on iTunes and reached number 6 on the soundtracks chart. A 13-year-old walked into an audition with an uninvited song that was released 6 years after the film is set, and it is the last thing you hear. Number 4. Denied Soderbergh's documentary approach, Miller went after authenticity a different way. He cast actual baseball people, real scouts, real umpires, real executives, real groundskeepers. The old men arguing about a prospect's girlfriend in the scouts room are, in several cases, men who have actually done that job. It didn't fool everyone. In July 2014, Mark Mulder, one of the 3 starting pitchers who actually won those games for the 2002 A's and who appears in archival footage in the film's first 2 minutes, sat down and watched the whole thing and live tweeted corrections in real time. We never paid for drinks from a machine in the clubhouse. Paul DePodesta didn't sit back with the players. Jeremy never turned on music, and the team never did that after a loss. The most authentically cast baseball film of its generation was fact-checked by one of its own characters 12 years after the fact on Twitter. Number 3. Pitt said it in the cover interview with Sports Illustrated while promoting a baseball movie on the cover of Sports Illustrated. "It's shameful how little I know about baseball. I'm amazed they let me do this movie. The sport was never the draw." His stated reason for taking the role was simpler. He's a sucker for injustice stories. What he actually built the performance out of was physical tics he observed about the real Billy Beane. He told NPR he liked Beane for his idiosyncrasies, that he can't watch the games without getting too emotional, that he often has food down his shirt, that he tends to break furniture now and then. Watch the film again with that in mind. Pitt is eating in almost every scene. He is doing it because the real Beane eats in almost every meeting. A man who admits he barely understands the sport got an Academy Award nomination by noticing that the man he was playing always had something in his hand and was always slightly in danger of breaking a chair. Number 2. The film gives you the clean version. John Henry walks Beane through a wet Fenway, takes him to the press box, slides a piece of paper across a table. 5 years, $12.5 million. The highest paid general manager in the history of professional sports. Beane thinks about it, turns it down, and drives away. What the film doesn't show is that he took it. Boston ran a full-court press that included part owner Tom Werner, arranging for Katie Couric to call Beane's wife Tara on her birthday because they knew Tara was a fan. Beane verbally accepted the offer in a meeting with Henry and Larry Lucchino. Then, days later, he backed out. Boston turned to Lucchino's protege and made Theo Epstein, at 28, the youngest general manager in MLB history. Epstein ended an 86-year drought in 2004 and won again in 2007. The entire Red Sox dynasty that followed exists in the gap Beane left when he changed his mind. Beane stayed in Oakland. He has said he has no regrets. Number 1. Best Picture. Best Actor for Brad Pitt. Best Supporting Actor for Jonah Hill. Best Adapted Screenplay for Zalian, Sorkin, and Shervin. Best Film Editing for Christopher Tellefson. Best Sound Mixing. 6 nominations at the 84th Academy Awards, the most for a baseball film since The Pride of the Yankees in 1942, and the first Best Picture nomination for one since Field of Dreams in 1989. The film had already gone home empty from the Golden Globes and the Screen Actors Guild. It went 0 for 6. Pitt lost Best Actor to Jean Dujardin. Hill lost Best Supporting Actor to Christopher Plummer. Best Picture went to The Artist. The film about the 2002 Oakland A's, a team that won 20 consecutive games on the smallest payroll in baseball, rewrote how the sport values human beings, and then lost in the first round of the playoffs, was nominated 6 times and did not win one. Billy Beane's line near the end of the picture, "I hate losing more than I even want to win." The movie built around that sentence lost everything it was nominated for, and not one of those losses mattered in the end. Every front office in Major League Baseball now runs an analytics department. The Oakland A's no longer even play in Oakland. The Coliseum this film spent 2 weeks of nights shooting is not a Major League ballpark anymore. The movie remains. 27 facts about Moneyball. The studio that canceled it, 3 different directors, a real wife cut from the finished film, and a 13-year-old who brought a song that hadn't been written yet. If any of these changed how you see the film, drop it in the comments. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.